Did you know Lehman Brothers lost over $600 billion in assets, almost overnight? Yeah, that's right. In just a matter of hours, a financial giant that had stood for more than 150 years was brought to its knees. The world watched in disbelief as one of the most iconic names on Wall Street crumbled, leaving a trail of chaos in its wake. It was the biggest bankruptcy in U.S. history, and it sent shockwaves around the world. Newsrooms buzzed with urgent updates, and investors everywhere scrambled to make sense of the unfolding disaster. The collapse didn't just affect Wall Street, it rippled through Main Street, shaking the confidence of everyday people and businesses alike. Let me take you back to September 14, 2008. It's late Sunday night, and Lehman's top brass are scrambling to keep the doors open. In boardrooms filled with tension, executives made desperate phone calls, searching for a lifeline. The atmosphere was thick with anxiety, as the fate of the company, and perhaps the entire financial system, hung in the balance. But by sunrise, it's clear. There's no bailout coming. The city wakes up to a new reality. The hope that someone, anyone, would step in to save Lehman evaporates with the morning light. The U.S. government, for the first time, decides not to rescue a major investment bank. This was a turning point. The message was clear. Not every institution would be saved, no matter how big or historic. So, how did one of Wall Street's oldest and most respected firms collapse so fast? Lehman Brothers had survived wars, depressions, and booms. But this time, the storm was different. Well, it started years earlier. Lehman went all in on risky mortgage-backed securities, betting big on the U.S. housing market. They weren't alone, but their exposure was massive. The firm piled up billions in assets tied to home loans, convinced that housing prices would keep rising forever. When the housing bubble popped, those bets went south, and the losses stacked up. Suddenly, the assets that once seemed so valuable were worth just a fraction of their original price. Foreclosures soared, and the market for mortgage-backed securities dried up almost overnight. But here's what most people miss. Lehman wasn't just losing money. They were losing trust. In the world of finance, trust is everything. When rumors started swirling about Lehman's troubles, partners and clients began to distance themselves, fearing they'd be dragged down too. Other banks refused to lend to them. Overnight, Lehman went from too big to fail to too toxic to touch. The financial lifelines that had always been there suddenly vanished, leaving Lehman isolated and vulnerable. Their stock price plunged 77% in 1 week. Investors rushed to sell, and the company's value evaporated in a matter of days. It was a free fall with no safety net. Imagine seeing your life savings evaporate before your eyes. For many, that nightmare became a reality. Retirement accounts, college funds, and nest eggs were wiped out, leaving families uncertain about their futures. By the morning of September 15th, Wall Street is in panic mode. Phones rang off the hook, traders shouted orders, and the sense of fear was palpable. The collapse of Lehman Brothers was more than just a headline. It was a full-blown crisis. Employees leave the building with boxes in their arms, decades of work, gone in a blink. For thousands, it was the end of a career, and the start of an uncertain journey. The human cost of the collapse was staggering. Global markets tumbled. Banks everywhere tightened their belts. The fear spread far beyond New York, triggering a domino effect that would impact economies from London to Tokyo. The Great Recession is officially underway. Businesses shuttered, unemployment soared, and millions faced financial hardship. The world would never be quite the same. It wasn't just about greed. It was a toxic mix of risky bets, bad timing, and a loss of confidence that spread like wildfire. The collapse exposed deep flaws in the system, flaws that had been ignored for too long. Lehman's downfall showed us how fragile the financial system can be when trust breaks down. It was a wake-up call for regulators, investors, and anyone who believed that some institutions were simply too big to fail. So, the next time you hear about a bank taking on too much risk, remember, even giants can fall, and sometimes it happens overnight. The story of Lehman Brothers is a stark reminder that in finance, nothing is guaranteed, and the consequences of reckless decisions can be felt for generations. If you want more stories from the wild side of finance, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Don't miss what's coming next.